Today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Will He by Joji, and here's a preview of what you'll be learning today. Once I've taught you how to do that portion, you can just play the melody. I will try to teach you that if I have time. It's just the same background tracks. You see here the E flats. You have that in the background, and then you have the B flats. So E flat, B flat, and you can play with one finger or you can have an octave. So you have, where it says, I got knots all up in my chest, up in my chest, up in my chest. Just know I'm trying my best. And then it repeats out throughout the song. So what us medium players like to do is just add a bit of oomph to it by doing this, playing multiple notes at the same time so that sounds good. But for beginners, you don't really have to. We're gonna start with the beginning though. So this is what you play. You play D, F, A, and D on the right hand, and that makes a sound. That's the beginning. So you know how it sounds. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so D, F, A, C in the front. And backing track with the left hand, you can either not play it at all or play a D here. What I like to do is I like to swap it with my left hand because it's easier for me to switch between this and this since you have to hold it out after. Okay, so you hold out the D, okay? And remember, when you're on the piano, to make it sound really like a Joji song, you hold the pedal, so it will sustain. And then once you get to the second A, once you do, you play the third A and you go with a G on the left hand. For beginners, you can just play these notes, all right? So here are the basic notes that you play. You do, let me do it without adding anything to it for beginners. Octave E flat, then you go D again while you're playing the front. So let's do the main portion of here. So you got middle C, and up here you do A, D. So A, D, D, A, D, C, A, D, A. I'm sorry. Okay, so you do A, D, A, B flat, then you go down here to D, 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 G, A, D, D, G, then you go back to higher D, and then you go D again. Slowly so you can check. what I like to do when I am learning songs is I don't really listen to the person who's teaching me. I look at how they play and try to model that. So just learn this part first before you start doing the backtracks. And again, you play it like this with just beginners. So remember G, then this lower one, then D, back up here to here. Just the same notes, okay? Starting to play it now. When you play it, by the way, so that sustains again. So now going on to playing this entire thing, but for a bit like a more advanced, a little bit more advanced, not like, oh, I'm playing multiple things on the left hand. No, you're just really holding it out and adding some. So here it is again, D at the back, you play this note. Remember G, and then instead of just leaving it, when you're playing the D on the right hand, you play an F here and add it together. Remember? E flat. Then you go again with the D instead of the F. Then you play this again to add it. See that? You play them together. Together. You do F, F, once you do here. For you, you can just hold it out instead of just pressing it again while playing. Alright, so once you get that, you do immediately after you play this backing tracks I said in the beginning. So you got E flat, then you got B flat. In the beginning where it goes like this. That's exactly what you play. G, D, D. G, lower D, higher D, and you let it go out. Then you go D here, the same D at the end, with an A instead. Then you repeat that. G, lower D, higher D. And then you go higher D, A, A. Okay, and that's again playing with the background tracks of E flat. And it just repeats over and over again. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll see once you're starting to play, you don't really have to think about the rhythms. You just think about when it should change. So again, I'm gonna start with G, D, and D. Let it sustain, wait, and then play it with the B flat and D and A, D octave. Then you repeat it again, go back to here. And then instead of going to the lower D, you do higher D with the higher A's and go and move to the B flats. there you've learned that. And again, you remember throughout the entire song you play this. Okay? I'm not really a professional here, so I don't really know these specific minors, A minor, you know, like if someone says play a D minor, I wouldn't know what that means. I just know what the notes are called. So if you're a beginner, kind of like me, but still want to play, then this is a good tutorial for you. Alright, so remember, keep in mind that you're always playing this in the background, so I'm going to teach you the front part where it's I got knots all up in my chest. So you got A. You got... And then I like to do... Because, like, you know how in the background it plays while he's still singing? I like to do that again with the sustain. So again, that's the basic portion, but what I like to add to it, so when it's like, will your tongue still remember the taste of my lips? And then when it repeats itself, I like to add some more, so it's not like I'm just repeating the same notes over and over again. So you got... Once you play the A, like my lips, my lips, my lips, you got D and B flat and the end. So you play these at the same time. And then you move with your left hand. You gotta be conscious of going back and forth the entire time where you're playing different notes on the top. And then when you're playing like regular verses, I like to do so I got knots all up in my chest. I play a D because it goes all along with every note. So you just play D at the same time as the other verses. And then at the end, up in my chest, you play the same thing but then a higher octave. So here you go. Here's a demonstration. To play the D because that might be a bit too fast. You can go with and then go back down here. And if you're just trying to sing this, you can just play these. If you're trying to sing it, then you just play these notes again. So D, the G, D, and then the D, A, C. So here's a demonstration. Again, just play it but here's another way to play the beginning. So to make it sound better, I do B flat, D, and G. So you got, and then I press D again. And then I still use the B flat because D and B flat go well together in this song, specifically because you see how you're playing it in the background track. It goes well together. So here you go. D, B flat, A, and then A, but then it's still the same as the last part. I play the F with it, or you can just do regular. So let's say I'm just singing it. I got knots all up in my chest, up in my chest, up in my chest. Just know I'm trying my best, trying my best. 'Cause when you love, and when you laugh, and when you smile, I'll bring it back. And now I'm sad, and I'm a mess, and now we hide. That's why I left, that's why I left. Will you toss to remember the taste of my lips, my lips, my lips, my lips, my lips. Okay, so if I were to sing it while playing it, it kind of sounds the same, right? The taste of my lips, my lips, my lips, my lips, my lips. Will you try to remember the thing of my hips, my hips, my hips, my hips? Will you love or caress you the way that I did, I did, I did, I did, I did? Will you notice my charm if he slips up one bit, 'cause I don't need to know. I just wanna make sure you're okay. So, like I said before, you play the D when you're playing the regular chorus. I don't need to know. I don't need to know. I just want to make sure you're Excuse me, I was singing too loudly. Okay. And so again, when you're playing, hopefully I played it slow enough for you. You got this kind of the same notes. You got A, G, B flat, high D, low D, F, and this D, B flat. Really, you're only playing those notes. I don't. And then when you get to the part where it's like, but because I don't blame you, it's B flat. And then you wait for a bit, and then you play the same thing again. So here you go, here's another walkthrough. You wait a bit, and then you start back up with the B flat. And then you play it louder. And at the end, you play the same thing, but like a little bit slower and softer. So it makes for like a better ending. Remember the higher D octave. So I'm gonna play the entire piece again, but slower. I'll stop when we get back to where we just left off. that tutorial helped. To those who asked for it, I'm very sorry that it came 2 years after you wanted to learn how to play it. I'll put down another MIDI tutorial where it just like shows you all the notes at once if that maybe helps you. If mine helped, please feel free to drop a like and a subscribe, and I will see you later. Sorry for all the distractions. Hopefully this helped.